we're coming off of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the things that like stood out for me this year for South by, especially in film and TV, had Asian cast and female leads. And so there's Beef, which is a show that's about to drop really soon, that is also there at South by. Joyride and American Born Chinese is another production. It's like that's about to be released as well, and that's just a couple of them. So I think you're going to see this nice little gentle wave, and so I think there's going to be something there to be said.
This time on the Plutopia podcast, broadcaster, DJ, and audio engineer Tracey Schulz reports on the just concluded South by Southwest Film Festival. We discuss new films that premiered at South by Southwest and the stars who attended.
Hi everybody, how y'all doing today?
We're good.
Hi.
We were just starting to talk about South by Southwest, which I thought would be a good subject since you and I were both down there.
Oh yeah. I again, my apologies. It's like for being late to arrive.
It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Too many tabs open on my laptop at the same time. It's one of those things.
Sorry, that should be a book. If it already isn't, too many tabs. It should just be a book.
So is it true that you were attacked by John Wick at South by Southwest?
I didn't get to see Keanu Reeves' John Wick, but he was in the neighborhood. He was like one block.
So you were like breathing his air.
Yeah,
I mean, like that, like.
Yeah, I held out hope that because usually right there in front of the State Theater and the Paramount Theater for all the film premieres, every once in a while they have folks come through to at least take a photo in front of the marquee, because hey, it's like it's the big giant marquee, and it's the world premiere. Yeah. So, but they snuck them in the back. They snuck them in the back alley at the Paramount Theater, is like, and got him on stage during John Wick 4.
No way.
Actually, I think I was standing there on the street as those limos came around and headed down the alley. We were in line for a movie at Stateside because we were avoiding the blockbusters in favor of the small independent films.
I was going to suggest that Keanu probably just has the ability to teleport wherever he needs to be. And there's like no
very possible.
He just disordered and then
magic.
Reordered.
He's actually a very mellow, laid-back person, and very nice to people that he encounters.
I know. This is my point. That he would be the type of person who would have the ability to bring himself into an environment.
There's a handful of people that I think is like kind of fit the quote-unquote Austin vibe. You know, the Matthew McConaughey template. Yeah. And I think Keanu Reeves is kind of in that wheelhouse where you can see him at the grocery store and people would leave him alone. They'll be excited. Yeah. But they were like, oh, he's shopping. It's like with his, spouse and what have you. It's like, he's doing his thing. So it's like,
I think that may be why some people like to come to Austin.
I feel like Austin's good at that.
It's not nearly like it is in LA and Hollywood, where people are being paid to accost famous folk.
Yeah.
We used to get a lot of famous people come in at Whole Foods, and it was like taboo to approach them, and like you just didn't do it. If they needed help, they'd come to you. And and then one time Prince came in.
Are you kidding me?
I am not. It was at 6.
Where was I?
It was night. You guys had gone home.
Oh, I would gone home.
Jeez. Yeah. So it was this big group of guys, right? And they just walked in, and Prince was in the middle. I mean, you could barely see him because he's like 5'0".
He's short, yeah.
And I'm like, he's like 5. Just stop there.
Just right there. And you couldn't really see him, but some asshole got on the loudspeaker and said, Prince is in the building. And they just turned around and walked out. And I was like, motherfucker. Because we had so many other people come in there, and everybody was so cool. And I guess someone just lost their shit. I mean, it's Prince. But come on.
You got to be cool.
This is why you can't have nice
things. Yeah, you really got to be cool.
Yeah, you want them to come back around. The reason why Prince was there is because somebody else told him, it's like, hey, they'll treat you here well, and they won't freak out. So,
and of course, he gets the one jerk who wants to be a staff member of TMZ, the kind of.
And then we find out that John actually didn't leave early that day. He
right. Yeah.
I was hanging out with Prince. Yes, of course. Tracey, so you were doing interviews, I assume for Co-op. How did you get that set up?
Well, I've just been very lucky. Several years ago, I just applied, and there's a couple of folks at the radio station that applied. I would say our film guy, Robert Sims, he's on the Austin Critics Circle for films. It's like here in Austin, it's like, and they do their own awards and things. And he's very prolific with Texas shot films. And it's like, that's kind of how I started too, is wanting to kind of cover certain things that he couldn't necessarily cover because he couldn't be everywhere during Southby. And then I ended up on an email list. It's like because there's press approvals for Southby in general. And then there's a different tiers like that you have to apply for red carpets and things like that for film screenings. And Robert didn't necessarily like those. He likes more long form interviews. It's like for 30 minutes, 40 minutes with the writers and directors. He doesn't necessarily chase the stars and that aspect is like of it. And I was like, well, I could
carpet interviews, right?
Yeah, and I figure it's like, well, I can usually come up with 3 questions with anybody, and so I figure it's like, well, this is a chance. It's like to be able to have an opportunity that I wouldn't have otherwise, and so I started applying for those, and that's how we kind of split our coverage. And honestly, it's like I like it better. I used to do bands, but bands have 5 to 15 shows during Southby, and they're all over downtown, and you have to find them at the venues, and it's like that could be a bit of a stressor, and it's kind of hard to get around. I figured if I just show up to the State or the Paramount, I usually get decent stuff. It's like throughout the day that's kind of spaced out. Mm-hmm. But the only downer is it's like you have to show up like an hour to an hour and 45 minutes beforehand. It's like, and then you wait. There's a lot of waiting involved with some of that stuff.
So who did you interview? Who did you, and who were some of your best interviews?
Well, there's a lot of buzzy star quality stuff, as always happens for Southby. But there was a couple of things that's like that I really liked. There's going to be a film that comes out called Joyride.
Oh, yeah. I was there.
Yeah, and that one I think is going to be very interesting. It's kind of a riff on The Hangover, but it's in China.
Oh, it's a lot nastier than The Hangover.
And it's a lot nastier. And there's a lot more going on with that. But it's an all-female cast, and it's produced by Seth Rogen. And so Seth Rogen was there. It's like to kind of
yes, I saw that.
He was there to kind of lend his name. It's like and that was our conversation. It's like, I'm just hoping it's like to try to kind of give these guys a boost. These are funny people. Maybe this will be an opportunity for folks to find their new favorite comedic actor. And so that was where he was coming from. It's like with that. And so I think that was going to, the story for me for this year for South by Film was we're 1 year out of everybody, or I should say Everything Everywhere All at Once premiering at South by. 1 year later, they win all the Oscars, and the very next week we have all these shows. And so, yeah, it's like there you go. There's like one of the folks, it's like and Seth Rogen as well. I think that was the writer director for the film.
No, that was the, I guess, protagonist of the film. And I'm drawing a blank.
I don't have my sheet in front of me. It's like, but that's another thing. It's like they also give you like little photo call sheets. It's like with everybody's headshot on it. It's like so you can know who's who. And then I'm like looking on my phone, and I have my notes, and I'm putting together my notes on the fly. That's so cool. It's fun. It's very fun.
Yeah. But I think that's Ashley Park, and Ashley Park is also on Emily in Paris.
Yeah, she has a great history on IMDb. She's been in a ton of things. And a lot of folks that are associated, a lot of folks associated with Joyride, they've been on writers, it's like, or directors of dozens of comedic TV shows that you all know, but this is a chance for them to kind of step out into the limelight a little bit. And so I think it's gonna hit well, because again, we're coming off of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the things that like stood out for me this year for South by, especially in film and TV, had Asian casts and female leads. And so there's Beef, which is a show that's about to drop really, really soon. That is also there at South by.
I think it just started today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Joyride and American Born Chinese is another production. It's like that's about to be released as well. And that's just a couple of them. Amazing. So I think you're going to see this nice little gentle wave. And so I think there's going to be something there to be said. So
there's some good indigenous films there too.
That's cool. Very incredible.
Yeah. But no, it was very fruitful. It was like I guess the star quality stuff was like where I didn't get a chance to get up close to Keanu Reeves, but I got within 50 feet of Chris Pine. So it's like I could say I took a picture of him. That's about as close as I got. My buddy got to interview him. But I did get
closer and closer.
I can't say that it's like I didn't come away empty-handed. I had Seth Rogen, William Shatner, just like
yes,
Michael J. Fox. It's like that was kind of cool.
Oh my God, those are incredible interviews.
William Shatner has a biography film that's going to be a documentary that's going to be coming out called Call Me Bill. And it's more of a fan-centric film. It's him on a single camera. It's like telling his story. Michael J. Fox's film, Still, is kind of like his biography up to today. And he's written 4 books. He's done tons of things talking about his Parkinson's, but it's kind of like where he's at right now. And it's very, very interesting, very emotional, very compelling. But there's a decent amount of folks that's like walking around. It's like South by this year. So
that's so
cool. It sounds like the film people have gotten hip like the big music production companies did back when they finally realized something was happening at South by Southwest that they should be a part of. Of course, that's when people like Plutopia could no longer afford to rent a spot because all the big guys moved in and took over. And it's good though that film companies are taking it seriously, bringing.
Well, I think with the biggest hit of the year this year having premiered at South by Southwest last year, I think that brought that kind of attention. I mean, the festival kind of came into its own after all of these years that they've been running more like small indie stuff and things that a lot of people weren't that aware of. And now they're being offered all of these blockbusters, and they did, Dungeons and Dragons and John Wick and Air and Joyride, all of those there. And a couple of them were like unannounced until the last minute, like John Wick 4.
I also think film is really coming back to Texas. I mean, I know in Bastrop, they're building a huge film studio, right? And it was here, and then they made it go away. And so all of our really cool friends left and went to Louisiana and New Mexico and all the other. And it's like now the studios are finally starting to come back too. And so I think the environment in general is just shifting. And like for South by the festival, it's timing, right? It's just everything is like kind of coming together in the right moment. It feels like on that level.
Yeah, I agree. I think the conversation is still talking about incentives. It's like, but a lot of folks are saying it's like, why do we have Texas set productions being filmed in Arizona? It's like, or elsewhere. It's like we could be having those productions here in Texas, in Austin, and we've always had decent amount of commercials and television shows being filmed. Most notably, Walker or 911 Lone Star. Those are released.
Also, Walking Dead out where we live. Occasionally, we get traffic stop for zombies, and it's sort of weird, except not. And Taylor gets used almost every week. They're filming in Taylor because it's got like that perfect town look or whatever. But they film Walker, Texas Ranger, and Walking Dead and stuff like that there too. So
Texas. I remember being in Dallas, and they were doing the Texas Ranger out in the parking lot of one of their grocery stores there. He was such an asshole to everybody. Just want to throw that out there.
Talk about Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Old
the original.
Oh my God.
The OG.
Old Chuck.
But old Chuck is going to get Texas government money for his productions because he's one of their people. I've noticed that if you're fairly conservative, you can still get some film money, and I think that's probably changing because they're getting beaten senseless by Louisiana and New Mexico and other states who are
Georgia.
really putting money and
Georgia,
support and infrastructure.
It was a industry.
It was a choice. It was a choice that the Texas government made, and I'm not sure why they did it, but they stopped supporting the film industry.
Well, there's a little bit behind
we can't
that.
have nice things.
Well,
what was it, Tracy?
You can kind of blame, maybe, it's like the way it was told to me is you can kind of maybe blame Machete. It's like with
how
Trejo.
dare you?
Well, because
it's stepping on a lot of toes in the government.
Because you had the Rick Perry character in there as the bad guy, and so he made this movie, and he has an Oscar winner. It's like Robert De Niro playing Rick Perry, but then it's like he goes back. It's like for his reimbursements. It's like as tax incentives, and it's like that's when they paid you after the film comes out. And Rick Perry didn't like it. He said it's like it didn't put Texas in a positive light, and so that was his asterisk that he put, and he withheld the money. It's like Robert Rodriguez had to sue him.
Yeah, that's typical Rick Perry.
It's Rick Perry's fault, right?
It's Rick Perry's fault. It's not necessarily Machete's fault. It's Rick Perry's fault.
Okay, all right.
Because Rick Perry couldn't take a joke.
Yeah, that's a good. Thank you for reframing that, Susie.
That's a good point.
I just found out something. So that studio that's being built in Bastrop is apparently being built by Zachary Levi, the guy who was in Shazam.
Yeah, he's a local now.
A true story.
He's a local,
He's a local now, yeah.
They're putting a lot of infrastructure in there.
In Bastrop. What's his name? Grenier. Entourage dude. Entourage guy. I can't remember. Adrian Grenier. He lives. Grenier. He lives out in Bastrop, and he's like a permaculture dude, or he's like all into the earth. Which I'm just, assuming I'm going to run into him whenever.
Honestly, that's very highly likely. He's a producer and he does environmental films, and so he might be traveling, but there's a good chance you'd probably run into him at the grocery store.
Well, my husband just finished a permaculture course, and that was and that's how it came up for us, and we were like, oh yeah, and my husband goes, do you know who he is? And I go, yes, I do.
My one Adrian Grenier story was, it's like he was on the red carpet from the Paramount one year for Southby, and I asked him, it's like because he was the producer of this one environmental film, and I was like, I asked him, it's like, so is there any chance you're going to be in the upcoming Aquaman movie? Because that was a plot point for Entourage. His character in the show becomes Aquaman, and it started the whole DC movie universe. And so it's like, they got to get you a cameo, a walk on. It's like, you have to be a face of the crowd, something. And he's just looking at me. He's like, you're really asking me that? It's like, yeah, because you're right here and it's a big deal. And it's like, he laughed it off, but I don't think he ever ended up in the movie. But he was
making a very good point.
Listen, Tracy,
he was nice. He was nice about it. He was nice about it. Yeah.
You're asking the hard-hitting questions. Is what's going on.
And that was a missed opportunity. That could have been real.
There's a couple of like really cool things that I lost when I had a hard drive die. But my buddy, he had that on film, so he was recording me. It's like while I was doing that, so I still have that somewhere. It's like on my stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I try not to be a jerk on the red carpet. It's like but there's been a couple times where I came up with, like, to me, funny stuff. Like one time, it's like Kevin Bacon was in town, and he was doing a retrospective of Tremors because they tried to make a TV show out of that movie series. And so he was here to kind of talk about the development of that TV show, and to talk about his current thing which was I think In the City, which is a kind of like a gritty cop drama that he was a part of on cable.
Oh yeah, no, that was a really good show.
That was a really good show. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's really, really well done.
Well, my question for Kevin Bacon is like talking a little bit about his show. It's like being on topic for the first 4 or 5 questions, being a responsible guy. It's like letting folks kind of talk about the project that they're for. My goofy, funny question was at the end. It's like, you were also here to talk a little bit about Tremors. Is there any chance that you could probably reboot Tremors as a Broadway musical? And he's like looking at me. He's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, well, they did it with King Kong. They have a giant King Kong musical with a giant animatronic monster, and it cost billions of dollars, but they did it, and it has a chance to dance and sing.
Yeah,
which is what I want to see. I want to see Kevin Bacon dancing and singing. And
that's what he does.
It's like if we can make that happen, it's like my heart would be full.
I want to see a giant monster worm dance and sing.
Yes, exactly. It'd be like one of the spoofs on Simpsons or something like that, or Family Guy. But it's like, but real.
Yeah.
You're kind of appealing to my heart, soul, spirit with my most favorite worst movie, which is now I want to see Anaconda as an opera. Okay, as an opera. Not, I mean, like seriously.
Does the anaconda sing? I mean, I can't see that anaconda getting out of it.
Like
Eric Stoltz, man.
I think it would be beautiful.
Ice Cube.
And J-Lo, she could choreograph. It would be, I mean, it's so up there.
I can totally see it. I think that'd be great. Oh,
it's a stellar cast. There's so many things.
Really
There's so many things.
It really
it's
is.
like
so good.
Anaconda, the opera.
Yeah, I'm down for like stuff like that. It's like stretch the boundaries. Let's be weird. Come on, let's do something.
For sure.
Just throw it against the wall and see what sticks. It's like it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome.
Please, yes, and thank you. Yes, that is exactly.
But yeah, it's like there's been a couple of like really cool moments. It's like, but that's the one that sticks in my brain just because the one interview that I'd like to have a second chance with, because I got a chance to do it. It was great. It was amazing. And then my hard drive died and I don't have that interview anymore. I would love a second chance with Frank Oz. So Frank Oz.
Yeah.
Frank Oz. It's like, Yoda. It's like the Cookie
Yeah.
You
Monster.
interviewed Miss Piggy.
Incredible.
Miss Piggy. It's like
God.
2 Men and a Baby. It's like hundreds of great films. Yeah, it's like
The Blues Brothers.
the Blues Brothers. Yes,
Yeah.
he's like he stole his scenes in the Blues Brothers. It's
Yeah,
like
his talents made him basically the Mount Rushmore of voice work.
Yes.
True.
He came to town. It's
That's
like
incredible.
for Southby one year. It's like with a documentary about the folks behind the scenes at Sesame Street, and it was a chance, and it was a very unique, not necessarily unique, but very simple idea where he was in his house. He invited his friends and former coworkers to sit on his couch, and he had a camera set up, and he would ask them questions about how they got to Sesame Street and how do you get to Sesame Street, but for real. And it was very daring, and it was the first thing that he directed in 12 years.
Oh,
And so that was my first question. It's like, this is an amazing story that I feel like he had to tell, because it's like nobody else would have the insight and care. And so it seemed very timely, and it seemed very purposeful, and it was a chance to see him direct again. And since then he was in it's like Knives Out or Glass Onion. Knives Out. He was in Knives Out as an actor, and he directed like another documentary. It's like about a magician. So he's getting work again, and you're starting to see him around. And of course, you see Goku, Baby Yoda. So you see the influences of his work everywhere now. I like to think that he's back in circulation again. So.
I'm a big fan of voiceover work and cartoons. Basically, I watch a lot of cartoon work, and I'm a person that always watches the credits, because that's one thing that I really hate that TV has done, is when they show a movie, it used to be the credits go by and you have all these great people that did all this great work, but they go at 90 miles an hour.
And they make it like this big. They squeeze it down to the corner.
Well, because I've seen the original movie and I knew the credits read at a normal speed, but that just really insults my intelligence. Like, come on, we know it wasn't that fast, and you're just doing it so you can get 2 more commercials in. But when I watch these credits, I see some great names that are out doing well. They can't get their face in front of a camera, but they can get their voice on.
Maria Bamford, my
things.
God, that woman is so prolific with her voice work, and then Lady Dynamite, of course. And I don't know if you knew that she was the Target lady.
Yeah,
she was the Target lady, the one who was like, like that. That was her. And then she had it was her, but she's on at least 2 shows that I know right now. I think more, but does both Big Mouth and what's the HR one? Is it called HR? I can't remember. It's Big Mouth's like Hormone Monsters. It's their HR department, and I think it's called HR. I can't remember. But anyway,
that's a great show.
Monsters. Hormone Monsters.
Yes, Hormone Monsters. They're it is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I cannot believe how funny it is.
The idea is
Bryant.
the idea is that it's like, you have your fairy godmother, but it's like this is kind of like your monster spiritual guide. It's like as you're going through puberty.
It's wonderful. And then there's Depression Kitty. And that's played by Jessica Lange, and she's very seductive and makes you want to just curl up and lie in bed all day long.
She's very good.
Kitty.
That's awesome.
She doesn't sound depressed at all.
It is. Oh, she's luring you into the deep dark hole. It's brilliant. Maya Rudolph is in it.
Is she purple?
She's
is
like
she
that
purple?
Well, my favorite seductive on cartoons was Jessica Walter, who was the mom on the Archer comic cartoon series. But
Archer,
she was the crazy woman on Play Misty for Me with Clint Eastwood way back when.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow, back in the day. There you go. That's them.
Back when she was
Depression
young.
Kitty.
Yep.
That's awesome. And she's purple. Yay.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you have got to watch that show. You would love it. The Hormone Monsters are hilarious.
That's a very brilliant use of comedians as voiceover talent, and they're written to their strengths. And so it's like it's folks it's like you recognize by voice, but at the same time it fits. The characters fit. It's like for your preconceived ideas, it's like how these folks sound.
That's awesome.
It's very smartly done. And but yeah, it's like Walker, you also may recognize her as like from Arrested Development, and she's great. She it's sad, it's like she passed. She passed, but she's amazing. She's amazing. It's like a very, very talented.
That show had some famous folk. The butler was played by George Coe, who I remember from the old sci-fi series from the 80s, Max Headroom. He was the head of Network 23.
Yes.
And he did a lot of great character acting.
He's actually, he did, God, what's it called? Orphan Black.
Mm-hmm.
He was a manipulative scientist who made the orphans.
It's funny that you say that, because I didn't necessarily put 2 and 2 together, but when you know that, then you can kind of see it in the artist rendering of the butler on Archer. He kind of looks like the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, all right, that fits.
And the mom looks like Jessica Walter. It's like, they were very hip with that, and they bring in people like Kenny Loggins to play Kenny Loggins, who looks like Kenny Loggins in the funny how that happens.
I gotta look up one thing. It's like Lake Bell is an actress. It's like that does.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She does
I'm a Lake
lot.
Bell fan.
Yeah, she's very good, and she's in a bunch of things. But she also is killer on voiceover work, and she's very prolific. She also wrote and directed a movie. I think
I was going to say
In a World. I think it's like is the
In a World.
Yeah,
I heard about that one.
And that's a really cool one that talks a lot about the voiceover work, but also it's like, how do you become a success? It's like in the voiceover work, it's like, especially when you're looking at maybe the discrepancies between male and female actors, it's like in that world. And so it's very, very cool. And it's very funny and interesting and also insightful. It's like for all of this stuff that we're talking about. So, you know.
Have you guys seen Kunk on Earth?
No.
Kunk on Earth?
Oh
on Netflix.
God. Yes.
She's awesome.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh my, you guys have got to see this. It's sublime. It really is. It's what, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's like it's a British show, but it's making inroads here in the United States. Yeah.
It is so brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It's really good. Everybody should see it. It's like she's just going through and she's telling the history of the world, right? And it's all completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like most good history courses.
Yes, and she is 100% dedicated to it. And I mean, she's not, and
she does wrong right. That's the thing. She does wrong right. Okay.
Yeah. It's
really
very
good.
So amazing.
It's in the delivery. She has such a dry, straightforward delivery that makes you like think twice. It's like, you know.
And what was she in before this? It was I feel like I can see her. She was playing like a waitress or something.
She's done Kunk over the years in different things.
She's recently been in American stuff that I have seen, which is why I recognized her from Kunk, but I can't remember what it was.
I don't see anything that pops up right off. Yeah, I don't see anything popping off right off the bat that I recognize. But yeah, it's like it's interesting. It's like, and I think, you know, it's one of those things. There's people that are super famous. It's like in Britain TV and Britain comedy circles that we don't really get a chance to see that much of. It's like, and it takes something like Kunk on Earth. It's like folks are like, who is this person? It's like, oh wait, they've had a 30-year career. It's like going, oh okay. It's like, well, maybe I should check that stuff out. So
they foist their stupid what's his name, the asshole who has the late night show. That's what we get. Those are the other guy. What's his name?
Craig Kilborn? Are you talking about Craig Kilborn?
Craig Kilborn's been a while.
Yeah.
No, the guy who's British and he's an asshole to all the waiters and the staff everywhere he goes.
Yeah, that's James
Corden. That may be Corden.
That's James Corden.
Is that his name?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, he's a rowdy guy.
Yeah, talking about British stuff. I just wonder who here has seen How to Talk to Girls at Parties.
I know of it, but I don't think I've seen
How to Talk to Girls at Parties. It's based on a story by Neil Gaiman, and he was one of the writers of the screenplay, and it was directed by the great John Cameron Mitchell. Do you all know him?
Yeah.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I love Hedwig.
So How to Talk to Girls at Parties is about some teenage guys who stumble into a house where they think there's a big party going on, and it turns out that the people in this house that are having this party are aliens.
Yeah. I remember when it came out, but I didn't get a chance to see it. It's like you can find it. It's been a couple of years since it's been out, but it has people like Elle Fanning in it. And that's
Fanning was an alien, yes, absolutely. And Nicole Kidman was in it too. Nicole Kidman played an aging punk.
Yeah,
she's great in that role. Ruth Wilson was in it.
Ruth Wilson, bunch of names.
Yeah.
And of course, Neil Gaiman. It's like, I did not know the Neil Gaiman connection on that. So that's kind of like a nice, pleasant surprise. I like to think that I'm up on all this stuff. So,
well, there's still time. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah, he's another.
Oh, is it?
He's another guy I want to interview again because I did once.
Right.
It's like, and then I lost it on the hard drive. So
Well, if you like British productions, I subscribed to BritBox, which is a streaming service.
Oh yeah,
and they show the things that you're not usually allowed to see in this side of the pond, and you'll see things that ended up being redone in this country, but not with the British people who started the franchise. Like The Office. That wasn't originally Steve Carell.
Yeah, it's very different. It's like in some ways it can be darker, and
and much the humor is a bit more intelligent for some reason.
We have to sanitize it. We have to sanitize
Slough seems like a way worse place than where they are. What is the name of the town they're in?
In the British.
Mifflin. Yeah. No, I know it's in Slough in the British one, but what is it in Scranton?
In Scranton, yeah, Scranton.
Oh yeah, there's
Slough
a good place to go.
So much more depressing than Scranton, I gotta say though. God.
I don't know. I've been to Scranton, and
I'm like, I don't know.
It is depressing.
Dude, it's called Slough.
Yeah, it's like there's no way to pretty that up. It's like sounds bad.
It is bad.
I'm happy to say it's like my mom came across the IT crowd, and that's
good.
Yeah, it's like she did IT support. It's like back in the day when she worked for the state, and I could have sworn I mentioned it to her. It has Chris O'Dowd and a bunch of other people in it. And it's like, but she just happened to come across it on Amazon Prime recently, and she loves it. She's been streaming it, binging it, and it's like,
awesome.
It is 15 years old. It's just like but she's into it. It's like
it's the guy from Flight of the Conchords guys in that, right?
I think so.
I think he plays a black dude actually.
Well, I've been actually re-binging House. I haven't watched it since it originally went off air, but the cast of characters, like I forgot that it had like Olivia Wilde and Omar Epps and Cal Penn, and I mean like the cast of characters is like stunning all the way through, and I'm just like, it's been very enjoyable. It's like it's been a good rewatch, and it's been so many years I've kind of forgot the whole thing, so that's been fun.
That's a good recommendation because I remember watching it off and on when it was new, and it was very it was A+ TV at the time. People were like, this is the show you got to see. And so I'm looking forward to like doing the same at some point and redoing and rewatching that.
Yeah,
I felt like it holds up. As a matter of fact, it stunned me a little bit. I mean, you've got Sean Patrick Thomas. You have like, it's just literally like, just like all these actors were so young and they were like coming into their prime. And it's like, I just like watch, Don't Worry, Darling with Olivia Wilde. And I'm sitting here watching her on House going, oh my God, she's like a child here. And like, here she is like producing and writing and like, it's just, I don't know. It's awesome. Like, I just think that shit is cool. So.
it's super interesting. It's like if you were up on House and then you find Hugh Laurie and all of his British comedy stuff, and it's like
that's what made me bring him up. It's like he's so un-British on House, and then he's so British everywhere else. He's like,
he's goofy. It's like,
have you seen his new show that's on? I think it's HBO. It's where he's a captain of a space ship.
Oh, Avenue 5.
Avenue 5. He is so funny in that. When he slips out of the American accent and they're all like, "You're British?" Jesus Christ! I mean, they're so mad. God, really?
He's a closet American.
It's very good, and it's like oh cool. It's like it's the Gilligan Island story but different. It's like in space, and they also don't know what they're doing, and so
it's like goofy fun.
Like when they pushed all the crap out, they have to let all the poop go out of the ship, and they hadn't recognized that they had a gravitational pull. That was
oh yeah, that was marvelous.
And then they had to push out, I think 2 or 3 people who died. They jettisoned them out also.
And they joined the orbit.
This mother is like, come on, honey, let's go see Dad.
So bad.
Well, I've been binging. I'd mentioned Max Headroom. I've got the whole thing on DVD, and I ran across it. I went, well, I'm going to watch this because it's been a long time. And I was blown away by how much they predicted what we're going through right now in their episodes. And it was pretty scary. They have Bill Maher on there as a sleazy TV producer who produces a show called Wackets that is a video narcotic. If you watch it, you can't stop watching it. And of course, the networks that want it immediately. And that sounds very much like Fox Network. They would love some. Yeah, it's addictive. Great. Yeah, let's get it on for a whole year.
Yeah, it's like as a kid, as a kid, I was like, I guess late 80s. It's like I watched Max Headroom because I thought it was like weird and interesting and all right, cool. They have this character and then they have to figure out it's like how to do a story around it. It's like and little hints of like what we saw later in RoboCop and things like that. And it's like, all right, you can make, it's like for a limited budget, you can make something very interesting and kind of sci-fi genre bending. And I thought it was like very neat at the time. I think they had an anniversary. I think they had like something like their first or last episodes, like within the last couple of weeks. It's like the anniversary of all that. It's like from all those years ago now.
Yeah, and the storylines in a lot of the episodes are very, I mean, they were talking about things that we've been experiencing recently. And one of my favorite storylines that carries through a number of episodes deals with what they call the body banks, where they're selling organs. People, they're kidnapping young punks out of the extreme parts of the city and take them to a body bank. So some 80-year-old degenerate can get a new heart or lung or liver, and that's the kind of thing that I keep reading about in real life. This people that are cloning organs and 3D printing ears. It's like, okay, I saw that before and it was sci-fi. Now it's real.
Yeah. That's usually what happens, I think. I mean, we come up with, we're not quite at beam me up, but we've got all the other shit.
Keanu is.
They're trying.
You, Keanu is. Okay, y'all, Keanu can do it.
well, like what was it? A Glass Onion. It's like the beginning of the Glass Onion, because they filmed that during the pandemic, and there's like they have all the characters. It's like, all right, cool. It's like you get to go to this mysterious island, but you have to take this shot. It's like in the mouth. It's like, what is that? It's like, well, it's like it takes care of everything. It's like going, well, but there's a pandemic going on. It's like, no, you're good. It's like, and because rich people could do that. And that was the implication. It's like that you can do anything you want. It's like if you have enough cash. It's like so.
Yeah, if you're rich enough, you can get Supreme Court justice to come and party with you on your multi-billion-dollar yacht.
Very newsy.
Mary of God, what the fuck is that about? I mean, how much more do we need to get this guy off the bench? His wife conspired to continue to delay the vote, and now he's clearly been taking money from donors.
He's just misunderstood,
exactly who he is from the beginning.
Well, it's like other folks have said, it's like that usually you have like shame or like a certain sense of personal responsibility, but now
or humanity at all, or a soul, something, anything.
Yeah, nowadays it's like our system relied on these folks. It's like to excuse themselves. It's like or resign. There's no obligation to do so, so they don't. And so this is we're not going to replace. It's like Thomas until after he passes away. That's just kind of where we're at right now. It's like we're stuck with him because there's no political will to get rid of him. So.
Yeah, well, he's got tenure. It's funny that they don't want tenure in the universities, though.
They keep saying things like, like that. Yeah. And then it's the hypocrisy and I mean, did you hear about the Ron DeSantis thing about he's banning all these books, and in fact, his book would be banned from the library at school.
I'll vote for that
because
one.
it's so divisive. I mean, it's just, this shit is going to backfire. It just will. I mean, what are they going to do with all the people who've sunk all the money into the drag RuPaul TV shows, all those advertisers and stuff? Are you kidding me? You can't tell people they can't dress in drag.
Well, I mean, Tennessee just
a whole
kicked out 2
industry.
representatives and are dealing with serious protests right now. You know, and they
And
had
that's
like massive
First
walkouts
Amendment
of like
stuff.
that. You know, it's
As well they should.
like, absolutely. You know, like, and that was
They-
students walking out. That was youth and children showing up.
They got
and-
rid of the black Democrat, I
of
noticed,
course,
but
too.
not the other one, for exercising their constitutional rights, which you don't check at the door when you become a representative.
Actually, they got rid of the two black guys, and
did,
the
both of
one
them.
white
Well, there's no
person
surprise
made it
there.
through
They
by
kept the
one
white
vote.
lady.
By one vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Tennessee 3, it's like is the hashtag right now. And it's like, and people are talking about it. It's a
And
developing
they can
story.
go back. They can run for office again and probably get elected again. So it's just
You know what?
Yeah, that's what that one guy said. It's like in his testimony, it's like that they felt like they had an obligation. It's like to expel these 3, but then if they get reelected, we'll welcome them back. It's like, for what would change?
Yeah. Well, the 3 will
Well,
get massive funding. Yeah, they'll do it Trump style, because that's why he gets into all this trouble, because he wants to raise more money. So they can play that game too.
Well,
this is not a good thing for Tennessee.
no,
It's definitely
No.
not. And
because
it's not a good thing for the Republicans either.
because now it's
No,
like
it isn't.
Tennessee doesn't have a representative. It's like for those 3 districts, it's like they don't have a representatives. Like, and
Well, they do. They just not the ones they elected.
well,
Well,
now
no,
it's
I
like-
mean, right now there's vacancies basically.
Yeah.
So that creates
they're like kicked out.
2 vacancies, and somebody's going to, I mean, there's going to be
it forces a
there's going to
re-election.
be another election. Yeah.
It's going to take another 6 months, and what, $10 million? It's like for each election. It's like to be able to say to re-elect. It's like anybody for these positions.
Well,
And so
what about? It's just the hypocrisy again. It's just overwhelming, because you can just point to something that is dead on them doing the same exact thing.
Of course.
And I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was at a protest today or yesterday,
Yeah.
right? I mean, are they not allowed to protest? I think she's had every right to be there.
Well, I think that this was not about the fact that they were protesting per se, but where they were protesting and how they were protesting, that it was a breach of decorum.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
seems to be, there seems to be broad agreement that it truly was something that could be defined as a breach of decorum. But the question is, was it a breach that merited removal from office? And
Are we
reasonable
really
people.
talking about a breach of decorum right now after the last, like, how many? I mean, like, the whole last 8 years have been a functional breach of decorum. I mean, like, seriously. And
Well,
we've
no,
ignored
but it's
all of
it's a
it, you know,
question
like,
of
every
context.
single bit of it.
It's a question of where it happened and how it happened.
in Tennessee, it's about Tennessee's rules. It's
Yeah,
like
I
of
get
this.
it.
Yeah, and they're
I-
by their rules.
Well, in the U.S.
Uh,
Congress, we've had some infamous Texans blurting out, interrupting presidential addresses and stuff. We won't name their names because I don't want to give them any more publicity, but we've had some infamous breaches of decorum, and nothing happened with those people.
Well, yeah, because
Their party was in power.
that was in a
That's my point. It's just
it was a long time ago in a
so
galaxy far
hypocritical
away.
at a level that's like,
Yeah.
it's just stunning.
We're seeing an acceleration of the
To
sort
even
of
pretend they
political
have
depravity
decorum,
of a
it's
particular
like,
party.
Well,
it's-
like somebody said,
it's bullshit.
well, like somebody said, it's like they could have been censured. and that would have solved the issue. And also it's like it still would not be great, but it would have like it would have dealt with the problem. But they wanted to expel them as part of revenge. And so it's like it's a political play, and they had the political will, it's like, to be able to expel them as like as representatives. And it's like that, and so that's where it's like it runs the risk of fascism, because it's like, all right, you're using your political power as a cudgel to bash the other party, and it's not because it's like of any rules that were broken. It is just done, it's like for the sake of flexing political will. So.
Yeah, I mean, the optics are just terrible for those Republicans. And consider that these people were protesting because little 9-year-old kids had been murdered with guns.
Yeah.
And they were protesting the broad availability of those kinds of guns.
In private, extremely well secured, extremely well thought out schools, that was happening. Not, like just in a school that was fully prepared to deal with that. And it still happened. And so it is. In
fact, I heard the other day that some of the teachers had guns there.
They did. They were, that school was
there's a lot in this state
trained.
that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's like where you would think the story could be that this is a situation that's gotten serious enough, common enough, that this could happen at any school. But instead, it's like there's folks that want to twist the story, and that it's like, it's an attack on Christianity because they happen to be at a Christian school, where that wasn't the case. It's
By
like,
a trans person who's, the trans terrorism.
It's an aberration. It wouldn't happen here.
It's happening in schools. It's happening in churches. It's happening. It is an attack on humanity. Simply.
I saw an ad yesterday on YouTube for this little folder size thing that you slip in your backpack, and it makes it bulletproof. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
I get those ads.
It's actually hard to get bulletproof backpacks. They sell out so fast.
Well, it's not a back. It's not.
Yeah, I know. That's probably why they're doing that, because it's so hard to get the actual.
Well, the commercial that I saw was, it's like, all right, you can get the Kevlar bulletproof shield that can slip, and it's just enough size that it can slide in your see-through plastic backpack, because you have to have.
Yes, that's what I saw.
You have to have a see-through plastic.
Right.
Backpack to go to school now. It's like something that can fit inside your see-through plastic backpack, and you can also wear it on your chest. It's like in case you have somebody running through the halls with a gun. And it's like,
now I'm thinking about John Wick with that Kevlar suit that he was wearing and getting shot one bullet after another. And of course it hurt like hell, but they didn't penetrate.
Also school uniforms. Isn't that what we're talking about right now?
Kevlar school uniforms.
Wouldn't that
that's
solve like all the problem, and then get them a little helmet, and we're done.
Unless you have shooters who know to aim for the head.
No, I said a helmet. Like that'll be like mascot helmets, right? You can do something
but there's
really
still,
cool,
between the helmets here and the Kevlar starts here, so there's still this,
Well, I will say this, it's like, not to mix everything together, but the brilliant thing that I liked about John Wick series and John Wick 4 is that there's a suspension of disbelief. You can fire 1 billion bullets with never having to reload. And you also, it's like, can still stand up and run away. It's like whenever it's like one would have probably have wounded you pretty badly, because it's like because your suit is bulletproof. And I like the idea that, all right, we're going to like just do this magic wand wave, and it's like make all the suits in the movies bulletproof, so you can shoot it's like to your heart's content. But at the same time, you have to wear a suit. It's like you can't not wear a suit, because anything else is not bulletproof. Only is like the 3-piece suit with a tie. So you have to have your hero running around with a tie and a vest on, and a jacket, and slacks, and dress shoes. It's like not tactical shoes, but dress shoes.
So we have run out of bullets. We have reached the end of the hour.
In the end of the internet.
Thanks, Tracey. Thanks, Grievous.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for coming on and talking to us about the South
So much fun.
Yeah.
I could do another hour. This is fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
We'll
gonna
do it
come
again
back,
real
right?
soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm happy to chit chat with you guys anytime. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're not letting you off easy.
Excellent.
You'll be back.
All right. Off
Good
we
night.
go.
You can stay in touch with Plutopia at plutopia.io. On Facebook, look for @Plutopia News. On Twitter, it's @Plutopia. This is the Plutopia News Network, 20 minutes into the future.